All right. Welcome to UI UX Design Class Week 2 for the Textilers Cohort 4. I am going to, I don't know if you can see my screen. Can you see my PowerPoint screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, that's good. Okay, we have one more person join us. You're welcome. The class just started. So if you look at the conversation part of this Teams, you'll see that I dropped an example of a portfolio, which you can download and go through later. But for now, I'm just going to dive deep into what we are going to do today. So let me start from the beginning, okay? We talked about creating a food app in our last class. So we said that throughout this course, we will be working on a design challenge. We'll be working on a design challenge of building a food app. Okay, so we said we'll be working on a design challenge. Okay, the expectation is that as you learn the processes and techniques that I'll be teaching you in this course, you apply all those learnings to this project, so that I want you to learn on a project, because I believe that it's easier for you to really get a grasp of what UI UX is, so that you have your first project at the end of this cohort. Okay, so we said the task will be to create a mobile app that will let people find food that meets their health requirements and taste preference. Okay, so we said, okay, for example, imagine you order food from a vendor who understands your food choices. Maybe they know whether you like pepper, you don't like pepper, you're allergic to garlic, you're allergic to some sort of spices, and then you are able to curate a menu for them on your app. They will always, the chances are you are the only person they will rather order food from, because you know who they are. So we said we're going to build this app around these kinds of problems, but we don't really know for sure if these are the only problems that are out there. So because of that, we are going to delve into those UX techniques we need to take to arrive at this. Okay, so we're going to go over the design techniques we talked about, but this time around I made sure I created the content in a way that it can address specific points that has to do with our food app. And I breezed through the different processes. Last time I talked about empathizing, I talked about defining. Sorry, let me check the lobby. I think we have a couple of people waiting. Okay. Oh, sorry, you were logged out. Okay, welcome back. Okay, so the last time I mentioned these points about the design thinking processes. I mentioned the design thinking processes and I just breezed through them. But this time around, I'm going to try and elaborate more in regards to our food app that we're trying to create. Okay, so the first, we explained empathizing, we explained define board very briefly, but I'm going to go a bit deeper today so that we can truly understand what it is. Okay, so now as regards to this food app, we are going to, in the level of empathizing, we are going to conduct a research to understand the dietary needs and restrictions of different users. This could involve conducting surveys or gather insights on common dietary requirements, such as gluten-free, vegan, low-carb diets. We're going to observe our users and see how they interact with these foods. And how do we do that? We're going to create an interview question for them. By asking them those questions, we'll be able to identify their pain points and challenges as regarding to the kind of food that they are open to and all that. So so that is what that first point is about. Then after we have achieved that, oh sorry, let me take it back. I wasn't supposed to do that. After we have achieved empathizing, I'm going to explain what empathizing is in detail later. So we are going to talk about, we'll now define the insights that we're able to gather during our interview. That's the empathy stage. The empathy stage is where you have your interview being conducted, because unless we said empathy is you putting yourself in the shoe of your user, because you are not creating the app for yourself, you are creating it for users to use. So we are saying the empathy stage is that part of you as a UX researcher where you get to immerse yourself as though you are the user. So how do you immerse yourself as though you're the user? You must conduct research. You need to know what these people want before you can understand them. You listen to them, you listen to the problems, then you are able to create the app around those things that they have mentioned. Okay, so based on the insights we have gathered on the empathy stage, we are going to define the problem. It's at this stage, when we have gathered those insights, we are going to still define the problem in this stage. Now we know what their problem is. Okay, we say, for example, their problem could be that people with specific dietary needs have difficulty finding suitable recipes or meal plans, which is a problem. Today we have a bunch of apps out there, but they just sell food in general. Nobody is really bothered about, oh, whether you like garlic or not. And so when they make their moi moi, they put it, or maybe they will say, maybe a seller can just say, a lot of people don't like garlic, so because of that, I'm not going to add it to my moi moi. Meanwhile, there are a lot of people, which means that you are cutting out your market of people that love garlic in their moi moi. So you see how dicey this thing can be. We are supposed to be able to have options so that people can choose from. And the more you have options, the more people patronize you. And that's growth for you. So those are the kind of issues this app will be able to look into. Our third stage is to ideate. When we are done figuring out the problems, now it's time to start gathering ideas. Okay, well, what are those features we want our app to have? Then I'm going to go into detail for everything that I'm mentioning now. As we go through these processes, I'm going to go into details. I'm just trying to give us an overview of what it is, so that when you are out there, remember I told us last time, do not rely on the things I'm teaching here. As soon as I teach a topic, please go to Google, go to YouTube, find other resources that will back up your knowledge, because I do not know everything. I do not even know near everything. And if you are able to do that, you'll be able to expand your horizon on some of these things that we are discussing here. So please, I encourage you, try to do some research after each class so that you can grow faster and achieve your dream of being a UX researcher faster. Okay, back to the class. Ideating. In this stage, we brainstorm ideas. You could be working alone, you could be working with a team. At this stage, you are going to be scribbling a lot of ideas based on your research, based on the insights you've gathered. You are going to now start brainstorming. Okay, since this is it, it means our app needs so and so feature. It means our app needs to have option for picking meals. It means our app needs to have an option for, okay, there are apps that I've come across, for instance, that it is you who is going to pick the ingredients you want in your food. And it is based on what you pick that they will make the meal and bring it to you. Okay? So when we go deeper, we're going to talk about analyzing your competition as you are creating your own app. It's not like there's no app like that that exists. There are apps like that that exist. And that is where you're going to do your competitive analysis, because you can't just say, oh, I'm the first person building this app. It is almost impossible to be the first person with an idea. So that is what we'll be doing on the ideation stage. We're going to brainstorm for ideas, functionality that could help users with specific dietary needs, find suitable recipes or meal plan. This could include options for filtering recipes based on dietary requirements, personalized meal plans based on user preferences, or an ingredient substitution feature for recipe. That would be nice. I'm sure we haven't probably come across that kind of app in this part of the world for Nigeria. I'm talking Nigeria now. Maybe, but I've seen such apps available on Play Store for other countries. So imagine you're the first person who is able to come up with this, and you sell the idea to an investor who wants to build this app, or you can collaborate with a developer to bring this app to life. But this is the first part of everything. Okay, then from there we'll move to our prototype stage, where we are going to develop a low fidelity prototype. Don't worry that these terms are ambiguous at this moment. Very soon you understand what each and every word here means. Okay, in the prototype stage, we develop a low fidelity prototype for the app that showcases the key features identified in the ideation stage. These prototypes could include sketches, wireframes, or even interactive prototypes that allow users to test these features. All this we're going to learn as we go forward. After that stage, we move to the testing stage, where we actually bring in users to come and test the prototype that we have created. We are going to observe them using this prototype that we have created, so that we can see if there's a place they will get stuck. Maybe they don't understand a particular function, or they are looking for a button and it's not very easy for them to locate the button. Those are the things we are going to be observing at this stage, because it is based on this observation that will take us to the sixth one, to iterate based on feedback. Whatever we have observed during the testing or in any of these previous stages, you can iterate even from your ideation. You can iterate even from your prototype level. But at any stage you make any observation, you iterate. You, based on the feedback received during user testing, iterate and refine the design of the app. This could involve making changes to the user interface or adding new features based on user needs. So that's that for that. Okay, so now we're going to explain what empathy is. Like I said, as the weeks go by, everything that I just breezed through, I'm going to still go in depth, because I want you to understand it. This is the key part of UX research. If you're able to understand this, then believe me, everything else will be smooth sail for you as a UX researcher, because these are the UX design processes that you cannot skip as a UX researcher. Okay, so empathy, we've been saying empathy. What is this empathy we've been talking about? Okay, the empathy we are saying is, what are your users feeling? What is their pain about this particular problem? We have a problem, right? And we said, okay, our problem is people with dietary needs hardly find food apps that cater to their needs, right? So that is one of the problems based on my discussion with you. But in your own research, you would make your research and probably find a lot of things that I won't be mentioning here. That is what makes you a UX researcher. Okay, so these are just examples that I'm giving. I'm giving an example based on an assumption, based on previous studies. No study ever stays the same. Remember, whatever research that has been done for something similar to this, know that the problems don't stay the same. When another researcher comes and does their own research, they are going to find more issues that has not been discovered before. So it would be wrong to say, okay, instead of me starting my research from the beginning, let me just go and carry on from the last research I stumbled on or something. from the last research I stumbled on. So that's not how it's done. Okay, so empathizing allows designers to understand users better. Empathizing helps designers to look deeper into the situations in a way that helps them to think and create solutions for the problems. It is considered a skill, and the good news is that it can be developed. It's not everybody that has inbuilt empathy. There are people that lack empathy. And most times you find that in selfish people that don't think about anyone but themselves. It is very difficult for them to have empathy, and it is very difficult for them to become UX researchers. Because if you cannot put somebody else in your shoe, you have no business being a UX researcher. You will fail woefully at it. You will fail woefully at it. So you must also be a good listener, because you are trying to know that thing that is really pinching this user so that you can fix it when you are creating this app. And that is very important. So if you want to understand your users, you listen to them and listen well to achieve deep understanding and comprehension. Listening not only with your ears, but with your senses. Every part of you needs to be awake when you are trying to observe your user. Because there are times that the user can be saying something and maybe for some reason they won't feel comfortable to say more. It is your job as the interviewer to make them feel comfortable enough to say whatever thoughts that they have not voiced out to you. So maybe they tell you, you ask a question, for instance, and they respond. And you can tell that that is not all they want to say. By observing them, by listening to them, by watching their body language, you're able to tell that there's more they want to say. And it is your job to make them comfortable enough to be able to express whatever it is that they're trying to say. When applying this idea of empathy in UX design, for instance, you consider adding a web mechanism that randomly polls user about their browsing experience with the opportunity to add feedback. A very good example is Microsoft Teams. At the end of each call, if you observe, when we are done using Microsoft Teams, they are going to ask you to rate your experience. They're going to ask you, how was the call? Was it clear? You know, and they're doing that because they want to be sure that they are servicing you rightly. So for instance, you give them a 3-star, a 4-star, they're not just going to say, okay, she gave us a 3-star. They're going to ask you further, what was wrong with the call? Was it the network? Was it the audio? Was it the video? You know, they give you those other options every time you finish a call on Microsoft Teams. That's a way to demonstrate empathy, because you are concerned about this user and you want to be sure that this user had a good experience using your product. So you give room for feedback so that you can understand that you are on the right track and you are keeping them satisfied. And you know, this happens every time you are done with the call on Teams. It's not just something they ask you today, they don't ask you tomorrow. Every time we are on Teams, as soon as we are done with this class, they are going to just ask you to rate your experience. That's the empathy part of what we are talking about. They are showing concern. They are not just saying, oh, after all, we are Microsoft. We created the product and we know we are so good. Nobody can question our ability. You know, they're not carrying themselves like that. Hence, this last point that says adopting humility naturally improves your empathic behavior. If you're a humble person, chances are you do well. You do well being an empathic person, because it goes together and it shows how you value others above yourself. That's why I said this is not for selfish people. If you are selfish and you don't care about the next person, UX research is not for you. Probably there are other careers for you out there, but it's difficult because we are talking human-centered design, And for a human to get through to another human, they need to be kind. They need to be kind. So now to the next point, which is our user research. We said research is part of empathizing. If you are able to understand the pain that your users have, and you are able to put yourself in their shoes, you only be able, because you are not a magician, the only way you can achieve that is through user research. Let me check. So there's someone. Oh, there. Let me admit people. Okay. Okay. Oh, sorry. The slide went back. All right. So that's about empathy. So now we are on talking user research. The main goal of user research is to inform the design process from the perspective of the end user. It is research that prevents us from designing for one user. Most times that user is us. We can just tell ourselves that, oh, I'm the one designing this app. Since yellow is my favorite color, then it is yellow I'm going to use for this app. And in regards to our food app, maybe I'm designing a food app. Chances are I'll unconsciously be putting my favorite meals on the menu of this food app. Maybe because I like moi moi. I'll say, hey, let me add moi moi to this menu. Let me add jollof rice. But you see, when we do our research, we will find out that there are a range of foods out there that people want to consume that has nothing to do with what we like. Maybe you hate amala, and then you do your research, and a lot of people want to eat amala. You're going to have to include amala in your menu because it has nothing to do with you. You're just a researcher. Even at the end of the day, you build an app that does not serve you as a person, but serves a lot of people that you have interviewed. Then you have achieved something because it's not about you. It's not about your preferences. So at the start of the project, the design research is focused on learning about the project requirements from stakeholders. Remember, as a UX designer, it's someone that will hire you to do a UX research on a product that they want to bring into the market, on a software they want to release into the market, on a website they want to use for their business. So they are going to hire you as a UX researcher. Do the research. So at the beginning, you want to also find out, okay, you hired me. What kind of app do you really want? And then they tell you, okay, I'm going to stick to our food app. We want a food app that caters for people's nutritional requirement. We want an app that people can have options of picking a meal that aligns with their dietary needs. For diabetic patients, maybe diabetic patients can't have salt in their food. On the menu, those kind of meals are available. For you trying to lose your weight, you don't want fatty foods on the menu, those foods are available. So you're going to ask them, okay, so okay, this is this. And when your stakeholders tell you that, when your stakeholders tell you all these things, then you move on to your research. You say, okay, this is it, because you can't even start asking the stakeholder, what kind of people are you expecting to use this app? It is you that is going to have to figure that out through your research, who the users are going to be. Even the guy hiring you does not have an idea. He might say, usually it is the people that are aging. He might tell you that those are the people that they are targeting. We're targeting aged people between the ages of 50 to 80 or 50 and above, because those are the people that are prone to illnesses and all that. And when you do your research, you now see that it's not just those kind of people that want to use this type of app. You will now find young girls that want to lose weight, they want to look nice. You will now see younger people that are already struggling with struggling with some health issues already. You'll find different categories of people who want to use the app. But for the stakeholder in his head or her head, they might think, oh, I'm sure just people from 50 want to use this app. But you, as the UX designer, by the time you are done with your research, you realize that a lot of people are open to using that particular app. So that is the benefit of user research. Okay, so there are 3 parts to user research. Okay, we have the qualitative aspect, we have the quantitative aspect, and we have the competitors analysis. Okay, so but I'm just going to really key in on qualitative, because it's been discovered that qualitative research provides the best results compared to quantitative. Okay, because in quantitative involves you saying, okay, now I want to ask questions to my users, right? Then I'll say, okay, what do I need? I need a Google form. You now go and create a Google form. On that Google form, you ask all the questions that you want to ask, and you send it out. Now, chances are, as a respondent, I'm sure there are some of you that you people receive emails or filling questionnaire and you don't even feel like it. And sometimes, because you know the person that has sent that questionnaire to you, you say, oh, let me just fill this in sharp. You see, when you fill that form that way, the researcher is not going to get the results that they are looking for, because you might just be answering them based on the fact that you are hurrying up to answer it, or one factor or the other will prevent you from honestly answering the questions. There might be a few people that will say, oh, let me honestly answer these questions. But there will be like another group of people that don't really feel like answering those questionnaires. And as I am talking, I am sure some of you can relate. Maybe the form hits you, you're not in a very good mood, and the form hits you, and you just be feeling whatever, and be going. You see, that response is going to affect the outcome that the researcher is going to get, because the responses are not honest enough. They're not honest enough to produce results for the person. Then when it comes to qualitative now, which I put observation, qualitative involves you doing a one-on-one interview with your respondent, a one-on-one interview. No, these days, the way COVID has altered the way we do things. People tend to conduct these interviews virtually, the way I'm teaching you right now. Okay, they will do a FaceTime with their respondents, and then they'll ask them these questions. You are likely to get a better result too than the survey. Is not, we are not scratching out survey. You get the survey is one of those parts, but we're saying that for you to achieve the best results when it comes to research, qualitative research, which is interview, is your best bet to get the kind of responses you need. Because we talked about empathy, right? We said empathy is you putting yourself in your user's shoes. So when you are talking to that person and you are seeing their face, you are seeing their body movements, and maybe you can see that they are withholding an answer, it's when you're looking at their face and you're listening to them that you are able to bring out that answer out of them, compared to when you send a survey and you don't even know what mood they are in when they filled the form. Then moving to competitors analysis now. All this is trying to say is there is no fresh idea. No idea is completely new. Most ideas are just, improved on, and most ideas are improved on. There's hardly a brand new idea anywhere these days. So even this food app that we're saying that we hardly see it around, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It does. It exists. That we haven't encountered it, that we haven't made an order on that app, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, but it does. So what competitors analysis you have to do as a researcher here is this. At this stage, you're going to go on Google Play. Since we are building a mobile app, all the other apps are there. You go on Google Play or you go on your Apple Store. You go on your Apple Store and look for similar apps. Sorry, let me let someone in. I think someone is trying to come. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to admit someone. Let me go back. Okay, so in your competitors analysis now, you go back to Google Store. You look for apps that meet people's dietary needs. I want you to do that today after this class. Go to your Google Store, go to your Apple Store, look for apps that cater to people's dietary needs. You will be shocked how many is going to pop up. A lot will pop up. A lot. So, but our job here now as UX researchers is to say, okay, let me look at these apps. Let me browse through these apps and then look for whatever is lacking in this app and add those things to my own. Because for you to break through the market, it means you are bringing something better to the table, right? So as you're analyzing this competition now, you are looking at, okay, what are those problems? And let me give you one quick expo. If you want to know some of these problems, the moment you go down to the ratings, to the reviews of this app, you see people complaining. Oh, I've tried to log in. Oh, I cannot receive my OTP. Oh, you people are this, you people are that. You know those complaints now that people like living under apps. And then you see the rating of the app itself. When you see four point something stars, you know, okay, this is an app that people are using. In fact, right there, you see a summary of how many people have downloaded the app, and then you see the rating of the app. You see, oh, over 100 million people downloaded this app, and then this is the rating. And the rating is based on the reviews that people have dropped from using the app. So it's the fastest way to tell if the app is doing well or not. Now, as a UX researcher, you will now state those apps. You will now write it out somewhere. Okay, there's so app. Then when you go to you observe the key issues that people are having. You note it down. You pick the other app. At most, when it comes to competitors analysis, you shouldn't analyze more than 4 apps. You shouldn't analyze more than 4 apps. 4 is enough. In fact, 3 is enough too, but 4 is good. If you can analyze 4 apps and just, see what those issues they have, chances on your own app, people will use your own app more. So that's what competitive analysis is all about. Okay. So like I said, we are dwelling more on, I want to teach you about qualitative research because that is the one that will give you the result that you're looking for. However, I want you on your own to go and dive deeper into competitors analysis and quantitative research. Okay, user research. Don't forget, these are 3 parts of user research. So when you are typing in to search, those are the things you need to note. You can write UX research. You can write UX research, quantitative analysis, or competitors analysis, and it's going to bring up a lot of results for you to dive deeper. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so now we're going to talk about user interview questions. What are those things that make up a user interview question? What are those things? How do we go about it? A user interview is a research method where a researcher asks a participant questions with the intent to uncover information regarding that participant's behavior and preferences. Okay, we want to know their behavior. We want to know what it is that they prefer so that it will help us make up our mind on the kind of things we want our app to have. Okay, so user interviews are a great way to collect insights directly from users, one-on-one. They can be done at multiple stages of the design process, depending on where you are and what you're trying to learn. But we've said that for us to even start this process, researching at the beginning is very important. There are other places we are going to also see research, but this is first and foremost where we need to begin. So most commonly, they are done at the beginning of the design thinking process when we are trying to empathize and understand who our users are. Said so much about empathizing. Okay, so now what we're going to do is to find out, okay, how do we do this research? What do we need? Of course, we need a script. We need a user interview script. Okay, a user interview script is a list of questions we want to ask research participants, structured around the topic you wish to understand better. It's a roadmap. It's a roadmap. Sorry, please pardon me. Let me give me 2 minutes. Sorry about the break in transmission. Okay. Yes. So our user interview script is a roadmap or set of guidelines for us to conduct research and navigate a conversation with real users in order to obtain the information. Thank God everybody likes food. So for us to find people that we're going to interview, it's not going to be hard for us. If we were building an app for maybe a specific thing, maybe a health app, I don't know, a health app is not even a good example. If we're building an app for, let's say, a specific stuff that does not have anything to do with what everybody does, then it would have been more tasking. That's why I chose food app. Everybody eats food. Even in your house, you'll find the people that you want to interview for this app. Okay, so let's take a look at the autonomy of a user interview script. The first part is the introduction. Okay, the first part is the introduction. At the beginning of each user interview, you should take time to introduce yourself, explain who you are. Remember, I said we could do this physically or virtually. If you're someone who doesn't have people around you, but you have a lot of friends online, you can ask them when they will be free so that you can interview them. The most important thing is make sure people are seeing yourselves, not the way that I can't see you right now, you can't see me. You have to be FaceTiming so that you can observe them closely. But if you are even able to get users around you, your neighbors, your friends, your family, that is even better. Because then you have like a face-to-face feel of what you are doing. Okay, so explain who you are, why you are here today, and the context around what you're working on. Set the expectation around how much time it will take. You will tell them, oh, this thing is just going to take 30 minutes. Oh, this is just going to take 15 minutes. Based on your questions, you can't really be sure of, like, okay, if I say 10 minutes, it will end 10 minutes. So give room for some extra time. That's why it's good to say 30 minutes so that even if you don't reach 30 minutes, at least you didn't take too much of their time. Then the goal at this stage is to make sure that your user is comfortable, that expectations are clear, and that everything is ready to go for the interview. At the end of this class, we are going to breeze through a full portfolio so that you will know what is expected of you at the end of this entire course. I'm going to show you what a full UX research portfolio looks like, because it has everything, all these parts that I'm mentioning to you. So I'm going to just breeze through that portfolio with you so that you will see what is expected of you. And I've also attached a portfolio, a working portfolio for you, an example on the conversations. You can download the portfolio there. You go through it on your own, but I'm just going to breeze through it with you at the end of this class. Okay, so you introduce yourself. So there's an example here. Hi dear, I'm a designer. I'm working on so company on product, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking to learn more about your thoughts and opinions on this. I'm going to ask you some questions today about how to interact with blah, blah, blah. Overall, this should take around 30 minutes. How does that sound? You know, you wait for them to affirm. Do you have any questions before we begin? You know, you're trying to make them comfortable. You don't want them to see as if you're wasting their time. You know, so you need to get them into the mood and all that. Then great, one last thing before we begin. Would you mind if I record this session? You need to record. Why? I don't know if you have magic brains. I know I don't, unless you know you can remember everything that you people discuss under 30 minutes. Then you have to record. You have to record. You thank God for our phones that allow us to record. You ask their permission, tell them you're going to record, and promise them and give them the assurance that this is going to be confidential. This is something you're just going to use for a research, so that they don't feel like, oh, one day you're going to play their audio on social media or something. You know, people are very careful these days. You need to give them that assurance that it's confidential recording. You just want to be able to remember their responses when you're gathering your insights. Okay, so for our opening questions, you know, these questions get the interview started. They should be easy to answer. They should also be easy to follow. They are typically demographic in nature, as that informs you where they are coming from and all that. And they also serve as icebreakers to get them comfortable, to get them open to discuss. The goal here is to get your users prepared, asking them questions that frame the most important part of the user interview. By priming the user in this way, they start to think about the product that they are going to use. Okay, so you ask generic questions like, what do you do for a living? You know, are you familiar with this type of product? You know, like, have you used something like this before? How often do you use a food app? You get, like, okay, are you familiar with a food app? For instance, how often do you use a food app to order your food? Things like that, you know. You can even say, do you like food? Just to break the ice. You know, they will give you that look like, auntie, why are you asking me if I like food? You know, they will give you that look. You can just to break the ice before you go into the main questions that would give you the kind of response that you need for your research. Okay, so that will take us to asking specific questions. You know, when we are done asking those icebreaker questions, we are now comfortable, everybody has laughed a little, we'll now get into the business of the day. We'll now say, go and ask, we'll now ask the main questions. Okay, this is just an example, for instance. Okay, let's say we're trying to build an app for a course. That's what this one is. I made sure I use examples so that I want you people to go and bring out your own questions from what you understand from our topic. I want you to be able to bring out your own questions for the food app. You know, ask questions, ask the tough questions, ask the simple questions, go deep, depending on, you know, on the direction that you want your app to go. You know, maybe you just want the app to just have only food. You don't want it to go deep. However, the brief was that it should cater to people's dietary needs. So it means your question is going to be around diet. Are you allergic to any food? Is there any food you don't like? You know, all those kind of things, so that you will know the kind of preferences that people have when it comes to ordering the food that they want to eat. Okay, so after users are comfortable and thinking about the main topic, we want to ask them questions to know them better. There's the tendency to create interview questions that are not open-ended. Very important. I need to talk about that. Open-ended questions are questions that, let's say, when somebody says, okay, like this first questions that we have here. How do you usually discover causes of fundraisers? When the person has answered you, you will now say, can you tell me about that? You know, because you don't want to just stop off at how do you usually discover causes of fundraiser. If the person gives you a flat answer, that is not good for you, because you won't be able to pick the issue in that kind of response. You need to know what they mean exactly. So you can say, can you tell me more? When you ask another question, when was the last time you donated to a campaign? And they can just tell you, the last election, or maybe it was a cancer month. They donated towards a cause, a cancer. They say, yeah, I donated for cancer last October, and they stop there. You want to know their motivation, because remember, we're empathizing. We want to feel what they're feeling. So we say, why did you donate? Maybe they have a story. Maybe they know somebody that died of it. Maybe they're just like people who are whose hearts are just so big to forgiving. You know, when that why that you ask, it can bring out a lot of things when you say why, and it will also guide you too. You might think, oh, those responses, they won't mean very well when I'm trying. All these responses, when you are brainstorming and you are thinking of different ideas and different features to add to your app, is these questions, why, that will help you come up with very fresh ideas that you can add to your app. Is this kind of why did you do this? Why not? How? You know, those are the kind of questions that will really give you those fresh perspective as to the kind of feature that you can add to your app that makes it stand out from already existing apps. Okay, so these questions, they help you inform the feature, the project you want to make, and how better to solve your users' problems. Now, when you have gone deep, you have asked those ones, they've given you your responses. Remember, you are recording. Then you do your closing remark at the end of the interview. It's important to provide a few minutes to wrap things up and give some space for information you did not plan to discover. That is very important. Maybe there are some questions you did not even include in your script, but because of the direction of the conversation that you've had with this person, you will now remember that, I didn't even ask this, and this is important. And that question might come from those responses you got. So your script doesn't have to be 100%. Give room for more as they come to you. The script doesn't have to be 100%, but make sure that what you have is important enough to dig deep for you. Because it is the quality of questions that you have that you'll be able to have enough responses that will give you the kind of insights that you need. So just be open to it. So by the time you finish, maybe something the person said will now trigger a fresh question for you. Feel free to ask. Feel free to ask those questions. So when you are once you have that, then you thank your users for their time, and then take some time to end and review your notes. Write down any observation that stood out in your mind during the interview. This can happen after you've said bye, thank you for your time and all that. Then you now don't rush to just get up and say, hey, I've interviewed one person, let me go to the next person. Just sit down, allow yourself to breathe, and just take note of certain things that you're able to observe during the interview. Once we have our interview scripts to conduct our interviews, we need to now recruit participants. Then we schedule a time to talk, then have those conversations. The first step is finding people willing to spend the time to have an interview. Like I said, thank God, people like food. So to have people to interview about food, it's not going to be so much of a task for you. So I've also challenged myself. I've never built a food app before. I've also challenged myself that I'm going to be doing this alongside with you. So at the end of this, everybody will show their work. You will show your work, I will show my work. And I believe that some of you will do very well, even better than me. Okay, so moving on. So our first task, remember we said every week we're going to give a task. And it is that task that will form your portfolio, your first portfolio. I'm going to be showing you what a portfolio looks like in a bit. Your first task now is to write an interview script. Write 6 to 10 interview questions for your trial. Oh, I made a mistake here. I took for your food app. Okay. Let me just quickly correct this. Don't mind me. I was giving you this thing from my last project that I gave, so I didn't correct it. Okay, so for your food app, your food mobile app. Okay, so this is our task. I'm going to drop this entire slide for you because I think that some of you might want it. I'm going to drop this entire PowerPoint slide for you in case you want to go over it in your spare time and so that you can remind yourself of your first task. So from now, as I'm dropping tasks, I'm going to be dropping it together with the slides of that particular day so that you can go over what we talked about and do your thing. Okay, so now your task for this week, write 6 to 10 interview questions for your food mobile app that we're working on. Then consider the questions in the examples above for inspiration. Inspiration. I did not say copy. More inspiration. Let it inspire you to come up with your own. Then submit those questions here as a PDF. Anytime you finish it, just go to our chat on Teams and attach it for me there or send it as a direct message for me on Teams. Okay, you can submit it that way. Don't mind the noise you are hearing in the background. Okay, so I think that's that for that. So quickly, I'm just going to open a portfolio so we could breeze through together. So that we could breeze through the portfolio together so that you would see what you're going to have at the end of the day. And I kid you not, that alone is enough for you to land your first UX research job. If you do it right, you don't have to be perfect, but try your best. Okay, so let me quickly share that screen. I had it just here so that we could go through that. It's attached in our conversation. You can go through it, have a copy, keep it if you want to remind yourself that you are doing. So that's it. Thank you for this lesson. Let me quickly breeze through. I try to make sure I keep this class an hour so that I will not bore anybody. I try to do that. So let me open. Okay. How do I see? Okay. So let me share this other screen. So that, okay. Okay. So can we see this screen? Can we see this UX design portfolio screen?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Okay,
can.
great.
Yes, I can.
Good. Okay, so now this is what this is just a PowerPoint. This was created with PowerPoint, so it's not something, don't feel intimidated in any way. And this is just an example of what a portfolio, a UX design portfolio looks like. There are so many ways to present your portfolio, but this is one of the simplest ways that you can have your portfolio and submit it to a recruiter. This is just one of the simplest way. A lot of people have websites for it. A lot of people have used Google Slides. A lot of people have different ways that they present it. A lot of people use Webflow. They use Wix.com to create their portfolio. But don't even be bothered by all that. When a recruiter is trying to recruit you, his problem is to see your processes, which is what we have been talking about. Your UX design processes, how you moved from empathy, how you moved all the way to ideate, how you moved to prototype, how you tested. When an interviewer is going through your portfolio, they want to see those processes, how you went through them. That is all they are interested in. So let me quickly just go through this. Okay, so this is just the opening. You want it to be clear. Okay, this is a UX design portfolio. If you like, instead of saying UX design portfolio, you can just put the name of the project that you did on top. Maybe the project, you have a logo for it. You can add it. or something, but this is just one of many ways. Remember, let's hit YouTube. Let's hit YouTube after this class and check and find out more about these things if we want more clarity. But for now, I can say slow down. We are still working our way through this. But if not, why not? Go to YouTube, see what portfolios look like, see examples of portfolios. This is a UX portfolio, okay? The full portfolio of a UI UX is usually more than this because we're going to have other aspects to it. But I told you that there are different branches. You can either just be a UX researcher and it is good enough, or you be a UI person, or you can be both, is good enough. So let's browse through this portfolio real quick. So this is just the front cover, then the second cover. You give us your professional background, okay? Yes, you are just starting. You can just say, forget this having 4+ years. It doesn't matter. You can just say you are an entry-level UX designer because that's what you are now. Currently, you are an entry-level UX designer because you are just starting. And if you go through some ads on LinkedIn, you will see the company saying that they are looking for entry-level UX designers. That means that they know say you know to know one, but they are willing to work with you anyway and help you grow your skill and you learn in the process as you are working. There are a lot of companies that are open to that kind of thing. So don't be afraid to approach those kind of companies when you see it, especially when they state it that they are looking for an entry-level designer. So here's just your background, your name. You're going to write your UX designer because that's what you are. Then abstract. Abstract here, you're going to just describe the challenge I gave you. I was given a challenge to create an app. Okay, my battery wants to show me something. Let me just quickly round it. Okay. Sorry. Okay, I thought my screen stopped sharing. Is it still sharing, right? Okay, so your abstracts, you're just going to give a description. You're just going to give a description of what this project is about, which we are doing a food app, Abby, that caters to health requirements of people and all that. That's just all you're going to write here in this part. It's a slide on PowerPoint, so you can do it per slide. Here you write your list of content. So by the end of this now, we would have done all of this. If you look carefully now, we are on our 5 and 6 now. User interview questions. That's where we are now. That's the first task. So it means the next task we are looking at is to do affinity map. Then we'll move to user persona. We'll move to problem statement. We'll move all the way until we fill up our portfolio. You understand me now? So that's what we'll be doing every week. So you try not to miss any week because now we are on 5 and 6. We'll do user interview questions because that's the task I gave you to go and do. Then you put it in a PDF, just submit it. Okay, I'm not going to be grading anybody, but if I see that there is a place that you need improvement, I will make sure I attend to that. Then, yes, you see the way we said it in your user interview question. Hi, my name is blah, blah, blah. You understand? That's how it's going to look like in your portfolio. That's why it's important for you to have it. Then you see, these are the questions. This person came up with 8 questions. To do this next week. It's like someone is, then this is user persona. Let me check. It's like someone in the lobby. Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, Brenda, we lost you there. Okay, so hope you were here when I started talking about this portfolio.
Yes, I was. I was here.
Okay. So, so this is where we are. We are going to do our research questions. Then we move to affinity mapping next week. So each week is how we will fill up our portfolio from what I said in the beginning of this course. So we're going to look at what affinity mapping is next week. If you like, if you have some time, go through what affinity mapping is and see before I say anything about that. Then we are going to go into user personas, okay? Then we'll figure out what our problem statement is. We're going to do what's called a lightning demo. I'm going to show us how to do that. Well, all our brainstorming ideas, we're going to brainstorm them and present them like that in our ideate level. We're going to now use Whimsical. Remember I mentioned Whimsical the last time. We're going to use Whimsical to sketch out our mobile app wireframe like this. Okay, then I'll teach you what a prototype flow looks like, all on Whimsical. We'll do our usability test plan, execution, user reviews, and we are done with our portfolio as well as this course for this particular cohort. So thank you so much for your time again. The attached file is in the conversation, and I'm going to also attach it in the channel as well so that you can see. And I'm also dropping the slides there as well. So good luck on your first task. Let me do that now so that I don't forget. Okay, so if you have any question, you can let me know. Before my battery is really low right now. I don't want it to go off while we're. So that brings us to the end of this class. I'm going to drop the attached file on the channel. Okay, or I can drop it here. How many of us can see the UX portfolio here in the conversation here on our meeting? How many of us have seen it and have downloaded?
I've downloaded it.
Okay, good. Please, everybody should do that. Let me quickly drop this slide now so that you also download it. Okay, so I just dropped this slide as well. Download the slide, download the portfolio, go over it in your own time. If you have any questions, DM me on our channel. If you're not on Discord, I'm going to drop a link for you to join our Discord channel. Let me see if I can pick it up right away before my laptop dies. I don't have light at the moment. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this class. I'm going to drop the Discord channel on our Teams platform. I need to end this class formally so that I don't lose my recording. Thank you very much for your time again. See you next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Thank you too.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you.